For years, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor was sold as the game changer, a 60 billion USD promise of highways, power plants, and above all, a modernized railway to connect Karachi with Peshawar. It was meant to symbolize the Iron Brothers bond between Beijing and Islamabad. But nearly a decade later, the reality is shifting. In a surprising twist, Pakistan is now turning not to China but to the Asian Development Bank to fund a key stretch of the Main Line 1 railway once hailed as CPEC's flagship project. Reports say Islamabad is seeking a $2 billion loan from the Manila-based lender after Beijing stepped back from financing. The question writes itself. Is China quietly moving away from CPEC? The ML1 line, stretching nearly 1800 kilometers from Karachi to Peshawar, was supposed to be CPEC's showpiece. China had pledged to fund it under the Belt and Road Initiative, with leaders in both countries hailing it as a game changer. But a decade later, progress has stalled. Despite repeat announcements, Beijing's funding never materialized. But China's retreat was not sudden. For years, concerns in Beijing have mounted over Pakistan's debt troubles and its ability to serve billions already owed to Chinese power producers. Pakistan's repeated bailouts from the International Monetary Fund only deepened those doubts. At the same time, China itself is reassessing its global lending strategy, scaling back from high-risk projects as its own economy slows. Pakistan, with its mounting fiscal challenges and political volatility, fit the profile of a partner too risky for large-scale fresh commitments. This marks a rare moment where China's often touted ironclad friendship has met the limits of financial pragmatism. The ADB's involvement is more than just financial, and the timing is no coincidence. Alongside ML1, the ADB has already pledged funds for Reko-Dig, the giant copper and gold mine in Balochistan, expected to transform Pakistan's export potential. This is not a pivot away from China. Officials say the plan was squared with Beijing, reflecting Pakistan's desire to keep both China and Western aligned institutions on board. Army Chief Asim Munir recently summed it up: "We will not sacrifice one friend for the other." Yet the optics are undeniable. A project once championed as the flagship of China's Belt and Road Initiative in Pakistan is now being revived with funding from a bank closely tied to the US, Japan, and other Western powers. With China pulling back, CPEC's momentum has slowed. After highways, ports, and power projects delivered between 2015 to 2019, there has been little fresh progress. The last major project, the Gwadar East Bay Expressway, wrapped up in 2022. Since then, the corridor has looked more like a corridor in waiting. China stepping away from ML1 doesn't kill CPEC, but it does dent the narrative of an unstoppable corridor of Chinese investment. The bigger picture, CPEC may be entering a new phase, one where Beijing's role shrinks and multilateral institutions quietly expands theirs. But the development signals a broader recalibration. No more blank checks, even for Iron Brothers.